today is the closing arguments for the Derek Chauvin case. A lot of people that are weighing in on this. A lot of people that are in the streets protesting. Some of them are too young or weren't even born when the O.J. Simpson case happened. I was young. I'm trying to remember how old I was. I think I was like 14 or 15. I don't know. Too early for math. But anyway, not too young to not understand, but still young. I remember it. It transfixed the nation. Everybody had an opinion about OJ. Did he do it? Didn't he do it? You know, it was a televised case. However many months it went on. If nobody's ever seen the documentary, I think it's in 2016, the documentary is OJ Made in America. Very, very interesting documentary. It goes through his whole life, where he grew up, where he was from, when he went to college, when he played in the NFL, his life after the NFL, and then the murder, and then life after the murder. Right. Very interesting because even back then, even though it was a televised case, there was shit about the case that, I mean, unless you watched it every day, it was hard to follow because there was so many twists and turns in it, you know? I mean, just watch it. If you don't really know that much about the O.J. Simpson case, watch the documentary because it goes through the whole thing. I think it's very unbiased, you know? Just the pure evidence that they had on that guy, you know? The blood trail from the house, the fact that he had a cut on his hand and there was his blood found at the crime scene, that there was a blood trail from the house to his Bronco. There was blood in his bedroom. There was blood in his bathroom. The hat with the African American hair in it. The glove found on his property. Right. They said Mark Fuhrman planted it, but they had no proof. There was no proof that Mark Fuhrman planted it, just an accusation. Again, this is really, really, really good trial to understand, especially when it to juxtapose to the Chauvin trial because of how public opinion was swayed. Okay? You know? Just the conjecture they used and how they inserted racism into the trial. You know, in the end, it ended up feeling like Mark Fuhrman was on trial and not O.J. Simpson, the way they spun it. You know, and how the jury could just ignore the mountain of evidence that proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that he killed those two people. The DNA evidence, you know, his mindset, and then let's not forget the Bronco chase. Okay? Like, and all the jurors saw that. All the jurors knew that. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Because in their eyes, and in this documentary about O.J. Simpson, one of the jurors comes out and just says it straight out. They ask her the question, was this payback for Rodney King? And she said, yes. Yes, it was. Even knowing all that evidence that proved O.J. Simpson killed those two people. No, didn't matter. That didn't matter. And this was a jury. This is people on the jury who are deciding whether this man is guilty or innocent. You know? Oh, forget all the evidence that proves he did the crime. We need to get back at the system. We need to show that the cops are all racist, you know? Even though there was no proof, absolutely no proof that Mark Fuhrman planted any of the evidence. None. They had no proof. It was, I mean, right, if that trial was held today, it'd be a slam dunk. There's no way O.J. Simpson gets away with it. No way. And in fact, The civil trial found him guilty. I mean, that's a different kind of trial, but still, it found him guilty. Now, fast forward to this time. Okay, now, none of these juries, these jurors are unbiased. They can't be. The reason for that is because they all saw the George Floyd tape, you know. Now they get asked questions when they're prospective jurors. They get asked questions by both the defense and the prosecution. If the defense doesn't like the witness, then they don't put the witness. So they're just looking for unbiased. But I mean, how can you not be biased in this? Everybody saw the video, right? Everybody has a certain view of the cops. How can you not be biased? Especially in this day and age of social media, you know, the racial injustice push. How can you not be biased? I think it's impossible. I think one of the jurors, and in fact, again, this is horrible because this means the press knows where these people live. One of the jurors lives in that town where they've been rioting for a week now, where that young man was shot, Dante Wright. And the judge, when the defense said, "Hey, man, you need to sequester the witnesses," the judge said, "No, we don't need to do that." Like, how is that not going to affect this juror's mindset? Because I know they're all thinking it. I would be thinking it if I lived in Minneapolis and I was a juror on this case. I'd be thinking about it. Right, if we let this guy go, this city's going to burn. Innocent people are going to die. Innocent business owners are going to have their livelihood destroyed. Would it sway my mind? If I was a juror on this thing right now, would it sway my mind? No, I wouldn't let it sway my mind. You know, after watching it, I watched not the whole thing, but the majority of it, and seeing the evidence and seeing the testimony. No, I wouldn't convict Derek Chauvin. I wouldn't. And because of the simple fact of they haven't definitively proved, in my eyes, how he died. Now, there's evidence, right? There's evidence that shows he was overdosing on drugs. There's a history of fucking drug addiction. There's a history of not wanting to fucking get arrested by the cops. There's a history of him breaking the law repeatedly. You know? All this would weigh in my mind if I was on the jury. And again, you have to look at the evidence, but how can you not look at the person too? I mean, that's a lot to ask of another human being, you know? And you tell me about this random guy, yeah, he's a good guy, blah, 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 but then he does something that I think is wrong. He's not a good guy in my eyes, you know? You may say it because he did this, he did that, but in my eyes, because he did this one thing that I find offensive or wrong, that doesn't make him a good guy. It's like, well, you guys need to like just not pay attention to the fact that George Floyd was a career criminal, and not pay attention to the fact that he was high on drugs, right? And not pay attention to the fact that he did have a heart condition, and not pay attention to the fact that if he hadn't have been doing what he was doing, he wouldn't have gotten in trouble to begin with. Forget all of that. You just need to look at the evidence. Well, what's the evidence? Because in my opinion, again, they haven't proved definitively that Derek Chauvin killed him. And not only that, the charges, second-degree murder, you know? Which is saying that Derek Chauvin wanted to kill fucking George Floyd. No, I couldn't convict. Just like that alone, all of that stuff, no, I couldn't convict him. You guys didn't prove to me that it was just Derek Chauvin alone that killed fucking George Floyd. Did Derek Chauvin do something wrong? Yes. He should have took his knee off the guy's neck. I mean, I don't think anybody disputes that. Did that kill George Floyd? I don't know. They got some expert witnesses on the defense. They got some expert witnesses on the prosecution that contradict each other. Now, who are we supposed to believe? You know, the fact that he had 3 times a lethal dose of fucking fentanyl, that tells me, you know, uneducated fucking John Q. public, that tells me that he was going to die no matter what. No matter what Derek Chauvin did to him, he was going to die. So there's that part of the case. This makes it a very hard decision for the jurors. Then there's the whole thing about the public reaction to it. Now you have leaders of Black Lives Matter saying that if they don't get a fucking guilty verdict, they're going to riot and destroy the city. Maxine Waters walked down there and said on national television, if we don't get the verdict we want, you guys need to stay in the street and be more confrontational. They've boarded up that whole fucking town. They know there's going to be a riot. No matter what, there's going to be a riot. How this thing wasn't declared a mistrial is beyond me. Well, because I think personally that the judge and the DA and all those fucking people, their hands are tied. They need to fucking come up with a verdict. Whatever it may be, they need to come up with a verdict. They can't just let this guy go. They can't. That's what I think. So I think, even though, in my opinion, they haven't proven that he killed George Floyd, I think they're still going to convict him of something. And that should be it. That should be it. That should be justice, period. That should be it. Done. But no, it's not going to be. Because people have already made up their minds. He killed George Floyd because he's a racist cop. Even though there's no evidence saying that he's a racist. And the evidence saying that he killed George Floyd, it's not there in my opinion. It's not there. Maybe, but maybe is not enough to convict somebody. Beyond reasonable doubt. That's the criteria to convict somebody of murder. Beyond reasonable doubt. And I'm sorry, there's a lot of reasonable doubt. I don't know. The more and more I look at it, I think these jurors are gonna cave, that's what this is all about. The riots, Maxine Waters going down there and saying what she said the other day. It's all to cave these jurors into giving them what they want. And the sad part is they probably will do it. I don't think they can do the murder, but you never know. Look, what I was just saying. They let a man that murdered 2 people and had a stack of evidence that proved he did it. They let him go. All because of public opinion. You know, and like some of the jurors came out and said, yeah, we let him go because fuck the police and fuck the system. You know, that's, again, where's the justice for Nicole's family and Ron Goldman's family? There's no justice there. I don't think there'll be any justice in this case. There won't be any justice, because in one side, the only justice is if they fucking string Derek Chauvin up and hang him from a tree. And the other side, like me, is like, hey, it's unfortunate and the optics look bad, but no, he didn't murder this guy. It was an accident. mostly because of George Floyd's own doing. And those are two opposing arguments, and that's why there'll never be justice in this case. But we'll just have to wait and see. Either way, this is bad for the country. Nothing's good is going to come out of this. Again, George Floyd, why couldn't you have just left? After the clerk came out and told you that you just passed the $20 note, why didn't you just fucking turn on your car and leave? Why didn't you just do that? It would have been so simple. He probably still would have got in trouble for the $20 note, but he'd still be alive today. Anyways, there you go. Everybody hold their breath.